Every episode contains graphic content, including, but not limited to, copious amounts of blood, unnecessary cursing, death of all ages, be they infants or mortals, fantasy drug use, nudity, mentions of sex, and sound effects of various qualities. Cannot stress enough that this is mature content with adult themes. You have been warned. Anyone got a light?
All right. Welcome to House Blood. I'm Gray, your DM host for a D&D 5e 2024 podcast, currently playing the adventure Hangmen, Worms of Frostheart. The story follows a group of misfits facing sentient calamities threatening to destroy the world, led by a Genasi army called the Rebirth Bastion. Most of the monsters I use are created by Oh Hi Mark. You can support his Patreon, although everything he makes is free. The music in our games is curated by D&D Breakfast Club on YouTube, with credit to each respective artist. I'm joined here today by Mega.
Hello, my name is Mega, and I play Eddie, the Otterboy Triton Bastard class, and nobody else.
As well as Nita.
Hi there, Nita here. I play Leah O'Black, the human cleric sorcerer.
As well as Rakuzen.
What's poppin', y'all? I'm Recusant. I play Mavet Sohafidash, the glue that holds the party together.
At the sap. And finally, Moomin.
I played someone on fire! I'm a fire Genasi artificer!
We like that fun around here. And finally, Tyler. He's dead. All right.
Yay.
Who can tell me what the hell happened last session? It was insane. Insane!
I don't know, seemed pretty chill to me.
No. Nah. That was not chill. That was the exact opposite of chill.
Super chill.
Can we have like a single day in a city without mass murder? Please. Anyone? Anyone?
For monies, I'll do it.
Rakuzen?
I mean, in fairness, most of those we didn't plan.
Yeah. You know what? I will give you that. Usually not planned. We just have a long history of mass murder. And, five's a pattern. I don't know. I think it's like, I think we have 3 times. I think the 3 feels about right.
Yes.
But yeah, who can tell me what happened last session?
Nose goes.
No one can see your fucking nose.
Well, I mean, we were mostly just dealing with the, actually, what's the term for it? The falling action of the big baby worm fight. It's everybody going about their respective businesses. Aluya, for example, unintentionally going on a date with Mum. It's Seer. It's Seer, air quote. It's but it's secretly Mum. Getting like some real racist experiences from like the local population. The actual Seer wanting to make her way over to the alchemy shop to pick up ingredients. Finding stuff she was wanting to. Mavet was contemplating his life choices the whole time. Eddie basically discovered what essentially was like a hidden tomb, or at least a hidden record of many political and otherwise deaths by his previous, well, I guess, yeah, just an ex.
What can I say? It's just my ex. Crazy.
Oh, Aluya did have the chance to really push forward her faith, even getting people to destroy the symbols of their previous faith and immediately convert to Aeolus.
Which is always good for a religion. There is only one God.
Which might have been a bit of a tone setter. It's like for when she ultimately killed 18 people.
Yep. I mean, how
because they
can you
were
have
mean
change
to-
without spilling some blood?
I mean, if you kill the innocent, there's plenty of pocket change after you loot their bodies.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, so like in the aftermath of that, Eddie and her had, well, honestly, it wasn't that much of a conversation. It's like, if anything, it was like Alulia was talking to a wall while she had the cries and screams of many different people going off in her head. I mean, that's pretty much where the session ended. It's like making our way back to Seer, who was by this point desperately trying to save as much as she could,
Eddie
even
and I
though most
had
of them
an
are long dead.
understanding.
A good talk. Good talk.
I mean, I guess Eddie did at least convince some of the remaining folk that were witness to Aluya to aid her in whatever they could. So I guess there's a plus.
There was one witness. No?
Okay, hang on. You killed like the mob of people that were advancing towards you. It was not an empty street. Like there were many eyes. Like it's just I happened to bring up one of the victims that you air quotes saved by
No,
murdering all these
we
people.
saved him. He should be saying, "Oh, thank you. I was getting my ass beat. Gracias."
You know, after I get jumped, I appreciate a machine gun tearing down all my perpetrators.
Yeah, thanks. It will never happen again to me. So, it works.
Yes, this carnage left scars here and there. But yeah, that sounds pretty good. Give yourself a 40-10 here. All right. Let's transition here. Change music. Little social calm here. Nothing crazy's happened to this person yet. My vet. Need to ask you a
That is
question
I.
here. During your day, you have a moment of peace. You rarely get a moment of peace. Where would we find you in town here? What would you be doing? Eddie wandered off. You lost track of him. And everyone seems to be doing their own thing in town, leaving you alone. I'll put you on the map here. You're also bloodied.
I would assume so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, how does Mavet react to that? I mean, you've gotten more and more powerful lately.
Reacting to being bloodied, Mavet just cannot shake the thoughts of what transpired when a certain phrase was said that put him into a state of shock and like a trance-like shock. He is lost in thought as a bunch of flashbacks from his beginning and how he came to be floods his mind.
What do we see?
At first, you see nothing. It is a barren landscape, just dirt and nothing else. As a beautiful hand with feminine features carefully displaces some of the dirt and places down a single seed and covers it up. Time passes, as it seems like ages. Rains come and go. It eventually begins to sprout. A garden is coming around this seed as the tree grows bigger and bigger. Some animals populate the area. You see what could be assumed to be squirrels. It's mainly silhouettes in Mavet's mind, but they do carry some characteristics of the world that we are currently on.
Well, let me add something to that. Perhaps, like, as we see the silhouettes, things are a little off. Like, say, for example, the squirrel, we see the gleam of its eye. Not eyes. Its eye at the center of its head. And perhaps we see a doe with 6 legs. Something's unnatural with this environment. Continue.
So the tree becomes fully grown. It is not Mavet. It's not Mavet, but it is in the sense that he's not walking as he is in his current form. It is what you would think of as a normal tree, bearing fruit. Upon that fruit, there are other animals within his branches. One of them happens to be of a serpentine nature. Can't really put a name on it, but this animal, this reptile, has been upon this tree for a while. So, eventually comes another woman towards the tree, looking at Mavet's fruit. The woman and the serpent have a conversation as Mavet feels a pinch from one of his limbs. It hurts a bit, but not too much, kind of like you would feel a bee sting. He hears the footsteps go away, and then 2 more come up. It seems like there's another person that has arrived. You hear the crunch of the fruit, and then everything begins to rot. The grass begins to wither. Mavet's roots begin to be unearthed. Fire begins to be baking in the distance. And it starts to get a little bit fuzzy. And time passes. Mavet wakes up in his current form, surrounded again by nothing. As he's walking out of this used to be garden, he happens upon a gate. As he opens the gate, he is let into the world that we know of now.
Now, let's bring this back full circle. At one moment did these flashes start? What triggered you?
It was the words, "I solemnly swear."
I solemnly swear. It's echoing through your mind, and you see the scene playing out. And perhaps, like, as you leave through these gates in your memory, you go through vines, bushes, and, like, as it's coming back, and you get grounded within reality itself, you feel yourself covered with vines. And you look down, and you see taut around you, wrapping around you like bondage. You see vines, and they're stretched out on your both your flanks. What do you do?
One second. I got kids yelling in the background. Can you repeat that?
Vines wrap around you like bondage, taut on both your flanks. What do you do?
Mavet feels like a hug in a sense. Not a hug to squeeze the life out of one, but a nice cold embrace as he pulls against the tension of the vines in a loving manner.
Mm-hmm. With the slightest movement, you feel one of them come loose. You hear a hard thunk, followed by crying. "Ah! Ah!" And you look to the side, and you see that there is a small sea elf child that was holding on to one of the vines, and you look to the other. And again, you see one that's still actually keeping the vine taut. It seems like you've become subject to a tug of war, with you at the center.
I would pull the other vine.
You pull, face first, eat shit, and again, another one is crying. What do you do?
Mavet would kneel down and look at the crying individual, not saying anything.
There's two.
Oh, the second one to fall.
Yeah, a second one to fall. Okay. They're crying.
Mavet pauses and looks inquisitively at them, waiting for them to shut up.
You make a roll here. Oh god, it takes 19 minutes.
Well, you got 19 minutes to cry.
They cry for 19 minutes. And that hurt. Sniffling.
You
Rubbing-
must learn to relish in the pain.
Rubbing forearm against nose. What do you mean? I don't like relish.
Confused child. You must learn to enjoy the pain that life brings, for else if you don't, you will never grow.
Snot dribbling down the face. What do you mean?
As Mavet stands up, he exclaims, I live in a constant agony. I can feel my bark stretch and chip and break as I grow stronger. Yet you do not see me shed a tear. What you are experiencing is nothing compared to me.
Can Can trees cry?
Only the ones that deserve to be burned do.
Shit. He scrunches his brow. Are you gonna burn me?
Where's my dice?
Tonight? Yeah. Oh. What are you gonna roll here? That's a 3.
Yep.
On a D4.
So it was evens. Mavet was good. Odds. Mavet was not.
Yeah, okay. What are you gonna do?
Mavet would say nothing as he raises his foot and stomps on the head of the child.
What the fuck are you talking about?
if you want me to like cut, do you want me to cut to like what it is?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
What do you do? Okay.
Mavet is inherently very evil, but something happened what changed him to be good.
Okay.
If this is a flashback like you were setting up, this is what Mavet would have done.
Okay.
The weak do not deserve to live.
Hang on. Backtrack. You can still do this action, but I want to be very clear. You snapped out of your memory when the vines were around you. That was a transition between you walking out of the gates and you coming back to Frostheart with us. And
Okay.
He'd be
So
very clear
good.
about.
Also,
He'd be
19 minutes passed between that flashback and now. I feel like
You had 19 minutes to get your bearing. You can still kill the kid. I'm not going to stop you, but I need to hear your logic behind it.
For the drama.
Yeah, it's fine. We have a body count. I just want to make sure that Rakusa has all the information he needs to make a informed decision here.
Oh no, I was just kind of confused on the time frame of when this was. If it's in the current time,
Yes, current time.
If he is crying and stuff, Mavet still has some influence of his former self when he was evil. So I would not.
Hang on.
child.
Let's lean into that. Let's lean into that. We not you killing the kid right now, but that moment, that hesitation. The weak deserve to die. Like, a tree that cries deserves to be burnt. Like, perhaps for a moment, we're in pure darkness, and you see the two glowing yellow eyes, and the Hulk-like form of Mavet. Not slim, but strong and mighty, like an oak. And as it breathes, there's smoke coming out. It's almost like smoldering insides, barely visible through the cracks in the branches. A sapling that is underneath a great oak will wither and die. Only the strong shall survive. And again, we're getting flashes again, Mavet, to the surreal experience of talking to yourself, your past self, in the forest, the one that died before you were reborn. There's still that connection. You hear that thumping of that guardian in the distance. And again, just imagine its face in the smoke as it speaks to you. But you have full control of your body. Are you still leashed to the past, this old ideology, or is something new formed? What does Rakusan have to say? What was the internal conflict here?
Give it about 5 seconds.
Smoldering eyes stare at you.
I can repeat if you can pick up the screams in the background.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
So my vet would be still thinking to himself that only the strong deserve to live as he lifts his foot. And in a moment of hesitation, he stomps on the child's hand instead of his head,
Oh.
essentially crippling the kid's hand,
Jesus.
but not killing him.
Yeah.
I feel that requires a check.
Okay. Yeah,
First
it
off,
does.
if the kid moves their hand in time.
Let's see. We don't do contested rolls anymore. How about this? Tell me your DC, and I'll roll a dexterity save for the child.
Where's my character?
Somewhere. Was it yep. 4 plus 4 plus
What
8.
DC do you want?
It would be go wisdom. No, you're stomping and you can replace your dexterity. We'll go dexterity. So 4 plus 4 plus 8. Alright. That'd be 16.
Yep.
Alright. No modifiers. It's a child. Yeah. Yeah. A little too late. Kid tries to pull their hand back, and you get like their forefingers. And there is a full-on scream. It's not a childlike scream, or like a playful scream. It is a blood-curdling scream that resonates through the wall. And again, just to set the scene here, like you're in the middle of the street, there are still people trying to like salvage this worm, and work stops and people begin to turn their heads towards you.
Can I assume that the kid stood up in pain?
No, if they're on the ground, like, let me explain the visual. Like, you pulled the kid to the ground with the vine. They're on the ground, they're sniffling, crying. You waited 18 minutes, you kneeled next to them, then you stood up. And when they asked you, like, hey, do I deserve to be burned? You had this full-on internal conflict that got resolved with you trying to crush their hand, which I assume was on the ground as they were kneeling.
Let this be a reminder to you, and be thankful that the fire has not come to engulf you.
Give me a performance check. Okay.
It is the way of Aeolus.
Mm-hmm. Like, my vet. It's here where we see like some of your old ideology like come to fruit here. Be strong, become many, or be fruitful and become many. Like you begin to notice that you're not alone, and people begin to swarm around you. You see people that are armed standing close by. You see men and women of various ages, adults, begin to close in. There's probably about 40, 50 people. Because remember last time I mentioned there's around 100 that gathered around It's dispersed a little bit, but around 40. Most of the men from salvaging or harvesting the pyroworm. What does Mavet have to say, like realizing he's outnumbered here? But that perhaps he could take everyone on.
Do you wish to test your steel against this great oak?
One of them comes out of the crowd. It's a warrior. And it's a familiar face. We see the Goliath again, like holding his polearm. There is tassels of various colors of yellow, blue, and red. That's enough. You see, he's meeting your gaze of around the same height. Rakuzen, I want to also add in here. Like, perhaps he overheard a little bit of your talks, your philosophy. And he might even just add in here. A tree alone is not a forest. What does Mavet have to say to that?
That is where you're wrong. Because one tree's canopy can grow as large as a forest if given enough nutrients to grow.
Yet it will
Whether it
wither
be
and die.
water.
Yet it will wither and die if the saplings perish.
We'll put that to the test then.
Hear the clang of the polearm hitting the ground. You've done enough here. Leave.
Fine. Your blood does not seem to have the nutrients in which I need to grow anyways.
Eyes narrow. And you see him come close, and his hands hovering over the boy's hand. And there is a soft golden glow. Well, no, I wouldn't call it golden. Imagine watercolor. Again, primary colors. This man's all about art. And as it reforms the damage that you've done, although leaving a scar, this kid can just barely begin to move their digits. Everything's being reset, and you see like a silent conversation happening between the Goliath and the Sea Elf. And again, he's patting the head. And weirdly enough, the Sea Elves have gathered around the Goliath. There is still a death glare towards the Goliath itself. Again, still racial tension. But it appears like a bridge is beginning to gap over a common enemy as there's murderous intent towards Mavet. If this was a Tall Tales game, Mavet, I would say the community will remember this.
Good, let them remember.
Alright. Now again, I set a scenario for you, but is there anything else Mavet would be doing? Like, just to pass the time today?
No, he would be looking for Eddie.
It's a fruitless search. You begin to search around. Well, you know what? You might get lucky. Don't focus on the map here. Like, what I mean to say is, like, it's two different timelines, and you're looking at the end of the timeline. Where would you naturally begin the search? The farms, the docks, Prism View District, Castaway Quarter, or maybe somewhere along the wall.
I would be looking for the scent of drugs in the air.
Oh. Yeah, give me a survival. Survival is better with tracking. That seems to be a scent that you're literally trying to follow. Yeah. So you're following the scent of drugs. And it leads you through the heart and to the Castaway Quarter. You end up in front of a ramshackle building. It's halfway flooded. As you're walking in this Castaway district, like, it goes up to your, well, with how tall you are, probably up to your calves. Other people would be up to their knees. This is a flooded district, and you come up to a house with a horrible foundation. Like, the house is tilted. Completely made of ice. But seems to be shifted. And there's just lingering smoke coming out, and it is just potent drugs. What do you do?
I casually walk in looking for Eddie.
You walk in, and you see various species. You see a kobold. You see a dwarf. You see, again, another Goliath. And finally, you see a dragonborn. It's red scales. And you see that the red dragonborn is lighting a hookah. All of them are sitting around this, and there is a open little... I'm trying to think of the fucking term. A pipe, there we go, duh. There's an open pipe. You don't see Eddie, but as they smoke, what they're smoking seems reminiscent of Eddie.
They're about to fuck inside their minds.
Yep. The dwarf is blowing smoke in the air, then he sees you, raises a brow, and goes, "What do we have here? Think I smoked a bit much? Anyone else see the tree in the room?" Kobold squints his eyes.
No. I don't think it's a tree.
What do you think it is, then?
I don't know. It's not a tree. Maybe it's a building. An outhouse?
No, it ain't a fucking outhouse. And again, he's... and it's just going around his beard, going around his eyes, and there's like a dim glow to his eyes. Mavet, do you have any questions? Anything you'd like to do in this scene?
I will walk up to the dwarf. Look him into the eyes and ask if he has seen Edward Hayes.
I've also talked to the king, too. No, I haven't seen the haze. And offers you a pipe.
I will take it.
Okay. Do you smoke it?
Mavet, so I just want to see if this is possible. I do not need to breathe, so I'm assuming I have infinite lungs. Mavet is going to essentially try to smoke all of it.
Okay. All right.
So whatever's in the little burner, he's just going to keep breathing and breathing and breathing until it's gone.
All right, Eddie. Or not Eddie. Mega. Listen. With your drug. Well, what's the consequences of smoking that much?
Oh, on it. I've never had to think of this, but I can only assume that based on the nature of this drug and the progression of it, like from each stage from one to the next, like, because normally stage 3 is one of the more like fun bits. But if he's really inhaling it all the way, I feel like there's a hidden fourth stage. I'm
Okay.
gonna
I
leave
like
it up
that.
to you, Gray, whether it's the stage that we actually talked about or the only conclusion I can think of for a stage 4.
Oh, let's leave it to die roll. You know what, Eddie? Like you have two conclusions in your mind. Let's do a percentile: 1 to 50, 51 to 100. Let the dice decide. No, I want to hear what's on your mind. It's always good to leave it to the dice.
You better hope it's not stage 4, because I actually don't know what'll happen to you after this.
Whoa, 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 whoa! He's clearing it! He's clearing it! You're not supposed to smoke that much. And again, see the Dragonborn just going far out. This tree, this outhouse, it's on another level, man.
Okay.
One. Okay. What happens?
All right. I guess, Gray, based on your understanding of Mavet and these NPCs, which one do
Yep.
you think he would be the most similar to in personality?
I'd say the Goliath. Goliath's been quiet, been watching everything play out. More of a man of action than anything else. Been quiet in the corner.
So, the first stage, so Mavet feels, which is weird a bit for a tree, but many of his different senses opening up. It's like his roots are able to feel more of the different textures and sensations underneath them. It's I guess he's more sensitive to like the different aromas and like both his own aroma that he produces as well as the different scents around him. So I guess it would be a bit saltier due to the nature of where this water is coming from. It's like the colors that he can perceive. It's like are much more vibrant. Then, as he progresses into stage 2 very rapidly, he begins to hear at first echoes, but then like the almost like the clear mental voices of each of the individuals in this room. Probably a lot of what the fucks. But then as you progress into stage 3, you feel as though you are not in your own body. It's almost as though like your essence is lifting from your tree-like form, and before you know it, as you close your eyes, I guess, or maybe open them back up. I don't know if you imitated other people when you inhaled this. So like maybe you closed your eyes first. But then as you open them, you can see yourself. In fact, see yourself with a hookah in your mouth that is now empty of its material. And perhaps as you confusingly look around and maybe look up, you realize, wait, you have hands, not limbs, not literal limbs, but figurative limbs. It's like you look down, you don't have roots, you have feet. You start feeling yourself over. You have skin, very rough skin, but skin nonetheless. I guess, how do you feel about that?
This new feeling Mavet would be kind of happy. There is someone strong in front of him that, unless the drug would tone down aggression, this is a worthy challenger in front of him.
Well, I guess that depends, Grade. Did they mix anything with it, or is it just straight up?
It's not pure. Some real bad shit is mixed into it. This trip is about to take a turn.
Then yeah, I guess you're feeling disoriented because you were just in one form and now you're in another. And you have no foreknowledge of this third stage.
Let me add in something here, because we talk about like how the smoke can like add to the connections here depending on what creatures inhale it. Now, I kind of imagine with these bad trips, or like when the drug isn't pure, that perhaps like other creatures get put into this connection that can make people feel uneasy. Perhaps like we see like rats. You begin to feel the scurrying of rats around in the room, the thoughts of bugs, and it's beginning to make you feel unsettled. They're unnatural, primordial thoughts of base instinct. That's really conflicting with your idea of challenge and honor. It's more of now kill or be killed. The law of the jungle. The spider and the butterfly. But continue, Eddie.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at, because there was just a D100 roll where something even worse would have happened. It's like, but yeah, that level of connecting with others would be inherently disorienting. It's and not knowing specifically what they mixed with it, it's like, and a lot of different drugs of that nature can have, like their own sorts of like disorienting effects. It's like, yeah, honestly, you might actually even be at a point where like uh, you don't necessarily like recognize visually everything in the room, but maybe spiritually you recognize that there are others around you that are not you, including the one inhabiting your body, since that is now somebody else. Like, you get the feeling that if, say, a luck of the draw happened in the other direction, you would have almost been completely dissociated and lost your identity.
That would have been cool.
Well, cool for you, the player, but what does Mavet think? Like, how important is identity to him?
It's rather important.
How does he feel almost losing it, knowing that was outside of his grasp?
It's hard for him to really grasp the concept of losing who he is, because what he cares about is being the strongest and protecting the ones he cares about. So if that were to leave, I mean, it wouldn't really matter to him because that's gone. So what's there to fret about?
Okay. How does the scene wrap up? Because it's going to take a while for you to get sober. Like, Eddie, what does the absolute height of this high look like? And Mavet, what do you take away from the situation after Eddie's description here?
Well, Mavet would take away that this drug gives him a chance to possibly see himself in his magnificence and then possibly challenge him.
Mm-hmm. You challenge yourself.
Yeah, what a great way to challenge his own self.
Eddie, Mega. Yeah, I got something I want to roll with here. Tell me if this is a little too far. Because we talked about like how getting towards like a stage 4, like losing your sense of self, your identity. Swinging the pendulum in the other direction, we talked about like how it can just feel overwhelming with the amount of connections that you feel around. What would you say with like specifically your drug and how far it's traveled, that perhaps either with the origins of the drug itself, like where it comes from, or like how it's spread and how many individuals have tried it, that this could nearly be like a multi-plane planar like connection here? Do you see the direction I'm going with this? Like the ultimate bad high that you'd see from an LSD trip.
I could see that.
Okay, let's run with it. I like it because we don't see it this often. Perhaps like Mavet, you really do want to get into a fight as you look around and you see demons, devils, aberrations, like all sorts of creatures relishing in these emotions. Like these creatures that thrive on these emotions are getting their high from your own. And they want it. It's influencing you in a horrible direction. They want blood. They want a fight. How does that reflect with Mavet as you just see within the smoke? Imagine like with this high, you are in a realm of smoke. And all that you can see is this hookah in between, like all the participants here, like the kobold, the dwarf, the dragonborn. They're shadowy figures, almost consumed by the smoke. It's only you, yourself, that you're looking at, and this body of the Goliath that you inhabit. And all around you are these just extraplanar creatures, just swirling around in the mist, just begging for a show. Your blood begins to pump, blood that you've never had before. You feel a heartbeat for the first time, and it's exciting.
I think a good way to end this scene would be the Goliath stands up and goes to strike Mavet. This would
Okay.
be bare-fisted. So
Yep.
the goal isn't to be like drawing a sword and killing Mavet. It'd be a test of strength.
That's what you think.
Well, find out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you're not the only participant here. What you want doesn't mean what the other person wants. So yeah, we end with a brawl, and we hear the cheers of infernal screams and laughter. And the screen is covered with smoke. All right. Sorry I gave Mavet a little bit of time here. We haven't seen him in a couple sessions, and I feel like that was a couple good scenes there. Let's transition to everyone else. Now, I know where we are at the moment between everyone, like Seer, Luya, Eddie, but I don't want to play-by-play. I want you as the players to tell me, where do we see everyone later tonight, before bed? Where's their lodgings, and how does this group interact with each other after everything that's transpired? I want to see that scene between Seer and Luya talking. Like, give me the broad strokes here. Starting off with Eddie and Luya. Like, where do we find ourselves after conversation? Where you guys go? What's happening?
Eddie was planning to reconvene with Seer, although maybe seeing like how much of the public is left. It's like before bringing Aluya onto the scene.
I usually like to yes and, but in this scenario, I don't believe you're ever going to find a good gap between people. People are gawking. Like, this is a major scene. This is just as devastating as a raid. Like, the kill count is almost equal, if not a little bit less. Because I believe I said with the raid itself, like 20 to 30 people accidentally died. This is 18.
I forget, does she have the staff?
Yes.
Yes. There we go.
Yeah, I'm gonna recommend using that.
I thought it was 8 people in the little grouping.
18 people.
18.
It was 18.
It is a lot.
Okay.
Yep. It's a lot of people.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much Aaliyah's whole stance right now is that Eddie and her have come to an agreement, and pretty much Eddie is acting as counsel, so she will do as counsel says.
Mm-hmm.
And she will not talk.
Okay, what's the general appearance that you take on? Keep in mind, people are looking for someone that looks vaguely like you.
Michael Jackson?
So you might need a more dramatic appearance here.
Alright, I'm gonna look like an orc woman.
Okay. You know what, Nita? Like, what makes Nita take on this appearance? Who's this remind her of back in the past?
No one. She
Okay. You sure?
she talked about the
Oh,
orc
Yeah,
guy she
male.
saw
Yep.
from before, and it kind of just clicked to just become an orc female.
Yeah. Took a half step, didn't go the full way. All right. Yeah, you turn into an orc woman. Is she beautiful? Is she ugly? What does she look like?
I'm gonna say she looks like Aaliyah, but in orc form.
Okay, so very long, like, hair. Is it the same color, black, like most orcs? Or are you gonna stand out?
Because I won't think things through, it'll probably look like my own hair.
Okay. Salmon. Yep, salmon color hair, very long. All right. You wear your armor and you're walking besides Eddie. Eddie, what do you have to say about this appearance as you go over to the crime scene?
I was about to say, just like after Aluya wastes a charge, and he's just like, Aluya, that's just you, but bigger and greener. If anything, you might actually now represent people's perception of you.
Oh my god! Wisdom saving throw, Louia.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with being an orc, but I guess I see what you mean. I will make the hair shorter and black. Like a, what is it? Like a pixie cut.
I still want that saving throw, I'm not kidding.
Para qué?
Parque.
I gotta bring up the thing. There it is.
You almost took psychic damage from this. But in the end, you have a strong will. Alright. Second charge, pixie cut, black hair. You guys are traveling down the street, and again, you just hear the sobbing of people. Actually, let's because I forgot with Mavet. One of you roll me a D100.
Um.
31, all right. Okay. As you guys are walking through the Heart District, again, this is where a lot of businesses happen. Merchants make their sales. It's a heart of Frostheart. You see that, like, the Merchants Guild is offering goods at reduced prices to help those who have been suffering. Again, kind of makes your heart melt because usually people up the prices to take advantage of hardships. With this, like, you see items being given out for free and at reduced prices to aid those in need. Like, blankets going over, like, mother and child elves' shoulders. Food being given to the hungry and the disheveled. See that some goodwill has sprout out from this horrible tragedy.
Actually, since Eddie didn't have a chance to really do this given the circumstances of last session, but he will use one of his regain pack slots to use create food and water.
Hell yeah, I like that. Take a moment, and what does this look like?
It's like as Eddie is like walking by, like he kind of like I'm actually trying to remember if create food and water had a material component.
It does not.
Okay. And so then just like as the smoke that usually hovers around him begins to linger as he steps around the street, and as he does so, it's plates of food and cups of water. It's begin to almost as though creating a small little a strip as he's walking by. You know what I mean? A
Yep.
line of food as he's walking
Yep.
by.
And again, I imagine there's a little bit of drizzle, a little bit of rain. Again, from the holes being drilled atop, and somehow, somewhere through the gleaming light, refracting off of all the ice. At this moment, we see your silhouette with a little bit of, light starburst behind you. Again, much like Jesus Christ. But you don't hear a public cheer. You don't hear people kissing your feet, or don't see people kissing your feet or anything like that. You just hear people sobbing from joy, collapsing near the food, the water. Some people hungrily eating without thanks, and other people slurping down water. It seems like you created, I wouldn't quite say a frenzy, but a lot of activity, and it relieved a lot of stress from merchants giving out goods, and you get meaningful nods and looks from people. I'm going to say I'm going to say, Eddie, jot down a little note. I know you've gotten a few of these already, but it's fine. This one's going to be very specific from the others because of your influence. Give yourself a D6 specifically for the Sea Elf community. If you make a charisma-based check in this community, you can add a D6 to it. But that's only used for this D6.
Mm-hmm.
Might come in use in the future, but you've made an impact, and that's how I'm mechanically reflecting that. Yes, you guys begin to walk, and Aluya, the smell of copper and blood fill the air, along with the singed hair. It's revolting. It makes your stomach turn. And you know what? Even with your new form, I would say an orc's senses is probably heightened a little bit. Let's transition here. Eddie, Aluya, you guys approach the scene of the crime. Seer, what do we see? You saved one person, so 17 casualties.
I mean, it depends how long it took them to do everything with Eddie and Aluya specifically. How long would you say that took?
Let's say about an hour. It doesn't take an hour to travel there and back, but conversations happen, unspoken things occurred, and stuff like Eddie casting spells. It took time. About an hour.
I would say we're sadly at the end of what's going on, because the truth is that probably the last moments are having everybody being transported with the help of this priest, having their people there, and then Seer with what they could reattach people together.
In fact, I want to say perhaps you're helping wrap some of these people in linen wraps, like a mummy. And on top of them, you're putting seashells on top of each person's face with their name on it. You see a priest of Minerva. You see him making a hole in the ground. Again, this is the same priest that Aluya shamed and caused his flock to destroy their religious symbols when he was speaking of a pilgrimage to the Deep Sea Temple. But as he's creating a hole, perhaps in the sidewalk here, you see that it's unnaturally deep, and water, the water level begins to rise to where the hole begins, and One by one, each one of the bodies go into the hole with a small sermon to Minerva. And again, you guys hear the familiar words here. Second. You hear the priest say, May Minerva give power to your voice. And one by one, we see like a trail of bubbles as the bodies are weighed down and dropped into the hole. All right. Eddie, Aluya, you approach the scene. You see like the priest with black robes, gold trimming, doing these sermons, and Seer helping prepare each body. What do you all do?
I mean, I'm going to reveal a bit of my cards for you, Gray,
Okay.
to understand how Seer would be looking, how maybe Seer is reacting, and more importantly, often how they've been interacting. So I put in my personal traits for this character 2 things, and I picked them in specific reasons. One of the personality traits is that I feel tremendous empathy for all who suffer. This is one of the big ones. Which is why you often see Seer, even if she's like abstains or does these things, she sympathizes with people heavily. So seeing this occur and either the hatred or people suffering with the loss of their family, she probably would look very down, very, I would say, just very much like not depressed, but more of just gloomy. But the second thing,
I want to add in here, because this might change the way that you feel. Like with your specific race here, like I mentioned, when you got to the city, you didn't feel the presence of a sentient calamity. Like it was on the precipice, but nothing has occurred. But after all these tragedies, the sorrow, all these negative emotions, you can feel it in the air, this palpable negative feeling. And your skin begins to crawl as you feel like a watcher roaming close by.
Which is also why... Go ahead.
And I need to add in one more thing. Like, the ceremony that you're seeing with these bodies, like, is starting to make sense to you. It seems like this is one of the ways that they deal with the dead rising and Genasi being born, is they purposely trap them, like, deep underwater. And maybe even if you probe, you see, like, they have a weird restriction where they will not like do the ceremony to someone who's drowned, like other than sea elves. You know, like if someone's drowned or died at sea, and that's because they don't want someone who has experienced a water-like death to rise as a water genasi. It seems like this is a way for them dealing with most cases.
Which is also what makes it harder for them, is maybe because they understand. They have their ways of handling things, but it's like with them, it's like that. That's also why I want you to know often, if Aluya and Eddie are there, I'm going to reveal my other card too, and this is something I put down, is that I wrote down a lot of the things, which is why my character is aloof or kind of like does their own things a lot. And that's because I put down saying that they get lost in their own thoughts and complications, becoming oblivious to their surroundings, which is why they're extremely focused on a lot of things. But in this case, it's one of those moments where you could see it's starting to be their downfall. It's mainly because now they're maybe overthinking on the scenario itself. For the reasons for the group to know, they might not know, but there is a great amount of stress upon her, and they're at a very low point.
Okay. Again, we see her lost in thought, like after helping with these bodies. Eddie, Aluya, what do your characters do as they enter the scene?
Here.
No response.
Did you say here?
No, he
Oh,
said
I thought
seer.
seer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
I only heard here, so I was like,
No, I
I'm
heard
ready.
seer.
My
And I
apologies.
just assumed like you're a role playing that yes, you were so lost in thought that you don't hear Eddie saying your name.
we'll play it like that then. Let's go for it.
1,000-yard stare, Eddie.
You'll understand. As Eddie just kind of like gives her a slap.
Where?
Oh. I do apologize. Kind of like
It's
trying
children.
to. As they stand up, it'll be like this moment where they're like at this like lethargic level until they look at Aluya. And
Well,
I would like to
before you go too far,
Aluya.
I'm curious. Like, would you recognize her in this appearance? Is it like the spear or the armor that gives her away to you?
Well, that's the big thing. It's like I was about to describe that because like it looks like an orc, you know?
Yep.
It acts like an orc.
Well, perhaps not.
But the big thing I want you to know that makes it slightly different from how people can get away with like alter self is that it doesn't alter clothes.
Yeah.
Or armor. So it might be one of those moments where like it takes Seer maybe about like 10 seconds. So Eddie could have something to say in like the 10 seconds of things. But like it would take Seer a moment to realize that standing before them is Aluya in disguise. It's mainly because Seer knows, but also Aluya has to carry the staff around too. So that's maybe would be the final nail in the
Eyes.
coffin of things.
Eddie, eyes are locked towards Aluya's form. What do you say? What do you do?
This isn't for you, Seer. This is for them. As he kind of gestures around like some of the people that might still be around them.
Mm-hmm.
Not a great time to cause a scene.
Well, hang on. Nita's been quiet here for a second. Like, how do you feel being at the scene of the crime again? That was a crime of passion, quite literally. How do you feel after your talk with Eddie and being around these bodies now covered in linen wraps being dropped into the water?
Yeah, she feels bad, but she's not at the point yet where she feels bad for what she did. It's more so the reaction, like it was all for nothing, pretty much. But she'll
How does
get
that
there.
manifest?
I mean,
How does that manifest with your character?
you're not going to get much. She's in her character, and
Yeah,
she's
that's good.
deferred to counsel. She's stoic.
Yeah, that's what I want. So again, barely perturbed by it, looking around. Not quite the same reaction Sears had.
I mean, I could describe. This is something I had to kind of roll in my brain for myself because I just sat there going like,
yeah.
Often, yeah, the group already knows that Seer's pretty like laid back. They already know that Seer will do their own things and will give counsel and say what they need to say.
Mm-hmm.
But the best way I could explain to Eddie in this moment, when they say that words, you're going to see something that you usually don't see. And I will describe it in the very beginning for Gray to understand. So whenever I describe Seer's hair, it's usually like flowing down, heated, you know, but very like luscious and crazy ways like that. That's for design because the main thing is you're going to notice like in that maybe about in the span of 2 seconds, you maybe would see the surge of this fire, maybe like almost rising up. So basically, instead of being like low hanging down, it's like slowly rose up to maybe
smoldering eyes.
Well, think of it as like, you know how fire rises up, right?
Yeah, smoldering.
Think of like that. The best way I could explain it to, if you've seen Inside Out with anger,
Yeah.
but it's one of those moments where it's a tinge where the hair just flows up for about 2 seconds, and then she barely keeps the composure up and being like, you are right. Although, I won't lie, I have many questions about here I would like to ask someone, but you're right. A scene would be wrong at the moment here, especially since it's already bad. I've been in too many situations like this where it only can get worse if we make it worse. So, I will hold my tongue, Eddie.
For the time being, we need to prepare for 3 things.
The priest stumbles up to you, Seer. You have my thanks. I appreciate your help during this tragedy. I'm afraid we may not recover for this for decades, he says in a hushed tone. Selves, we don't have many offspring. Each life is precious. Each lost, it is devastating to community. You see his eyes go down. I know that not many are generous to your kind. Quite hateful, actually. I want you to know that I do not see through those same lenses, that same prejudice. There is a community here that wants our kinds to live together. Quality. But looking again, like at the blood-stained ice. Been working on that for almost a century. And one day it feels like we've gone back to the Stone Ages. Minerva bless us.
There is no rest for the weary of this situation. We can only rebuild upon what we have left. And you could see like I also describe it as like the cracking of Sears. Like they're very I hate describing them as resting bitch face all the time. But it's one of those moments where it's like emotion is actually, prominent. And then they continue to speak. I apologize on behalf of what happened here. Though I was not the cause of this, I feel I should be responsible for what they do, for I strive to make it better for all of us. My goal is to bring peace amongst, and in cases like this, it makes it farther and harder to bring that peace together. Hence why I am willing, despite all the hate, will keep assisting to show the difference between me and them. I've even gone against my own instincts of things as normal for my kind to do. So, I will never stop. That's my promise to you.
Hate begats hate. And you may be what we need.
for peace in our times. But I'm sorry to say the reality is troublesome for one person to change the world. It's only when we work together, act together, that we can bring change. Although your actions are admirable, pain
It may
and
take
suffering.
more than one person to make change, but it only takes one to start.
Looks towards you. Indeed.
Then, even if no one else will support us at the moment, with you at least, I can tell you one thing. I will keep doing it, and I will do it with as many people as I can, because I know I can't enforce all the things to stay in order. But kindness does go a long way.
Think with the reality of the situation, like he might say one final thing.
I want to tell you that I recognize everything you've done today. As you speak for your community, pointing to Seer, I shall speak for mine. Deep down, everyone appreciates everything that all of you have done. I'm afraid that good deeds are drowned by atrocities. Again, it's towards the ground. Never forget, we are in your debt. Slowly nods. I must be going. I have a pilgrimage to start.
Turns his black robes and begins to walk away.
I did everything I can at this moment, looking back to Eddie and Orkaluya. Well, might as well make our way to a safer location of things and get on to our next leg of the journey.
Well, I suppose not quite. After all, we do have a meeting with the council in the morning.
I could try to speak with them, but I doubt they would want to speak with me, so I might have to leave that to you. Though I will be honest, I can't put into words how I feel. I can only hold myself together in some things. It's a rare moment when I can't.
Feel eyes watching you. And again, like Eddie, you feel it. You know this experience before. You see like the eyes of guards in the distance, watching your every movement. As you guys perhaps move, you see them slowly following you, keeping track of your activities, what you're doing, keeping an eye on you.
So, at any rate, just like walking through the street.
Yeah.
It's, I suppose it is possible that many of you, for one reason or another, might not be able to attend the meeting. But I'm afraid, especially due to recent circumstances and a personal revelation, I feel like the nature of that meeting is going to not be what we originally expected.
Understandable.
For that reason, well, a couple of reasons, but would you be able to make something for me overnight?
Tell me what you need and I'll make it done before the morning.
You remember that communication device that we made to keep in contact with Jelenia?
I do.
Can you make another one, but, well, communicates one way, but in exchange makes it a bit louder so that everyone can hear it?
Then I do need to ask, do you have anything that I can use for that? I've used my gems, but if you have something of equivalent, I can make that work.
Well, it's like for the previous device, we did use one of my mushrooms for the base. I think from there, it would just need to be able to amplify that communication.
Then I'll do some modifications on my little creature of things. I won't lie, I could also maybe find some things at the alchemy shop, but I've lost a lot of motivation for today. I might still stop there if it's necessary, but I'll make it happen.
And one more thing.
Yes.
If I don't come back, I'm sorry.
At least I have you telling me that ahead of time. All right. Duly noted. You can see there's a lot of pain in her eyes when you say that as she gives you eye contact.
Well, by the way, has anyone seen my vet?
Let's flash forward. Where are you guys staying for the night?
If Seer needs to make this device with whatever she could find, she probably would either A, find a private spot and just work on it, or since the alchemy shop has a lot of resources, she would camp there for the night.
Okay.
Just working on things.
Alchemy shop. Where's everyone else staying?
I'll stay wherever Eddie tells me to stay. If I need to hide out or sleep in a hole somewhere, I'll do it.
Eddie?
Yeah, we began this day very differently.
Yep.
I suppose. Actually, you know what? I think Eddie might even, due to the circumstances that he found them in, I think he actually would have made a return to the Uh, I'm gonna call them the dredges.
Okay. Gotcha.
It's like mostly because I think he's actually in preparation for tomorrow. It's like I think he would be interested in trying to have both himself and as well as Aluya, like like help them to the best of their ability, but then also maybe hear their stories.
Okay. Yeah. Give me a. I'm thinking performance. Although I know the intention isn't to put on a show, but again, it's more towards like how many people you're talking to and how does that affect the public. That can also be. I'll give you the option of performance and investigation because like you can either like bring up these stories that you heard from personal accounts, or you can be more performative and improve your public image here. If that's your intentions, as I understand it.
Like he's definitely at the very least trying to get information and to kind of like get perspective on how they've been living.
Okay. Yeah, your choice. I can go either one. Right.
On how I've been living?
No,
No,
the
the people.
Oh,
the
got
the
it.
people that are in this ghetto. I'm gonna call it what it is. The people in this ghetto.
well, I called it the dredges just because it's partially underwater.
Yeah. Okay. Aluya, are you still maintaining this orc form? Are you hiding in the shadows? Are you in the building? Or are you also assisting with this?
I'm gonna have to maintain the orc form because I was told to.
Like actually, when entering the dredges, like Eddie would comment that it would be okay to be yourself in this area, since
Okay.
most certainly this, at least based on my assumptions and based off of when we originally entered here, I don't think any sea elves are in here.
No. Absent of sea elves.
Okay, so then I would drop it and help with whatever needs helping with.
Yeah, also make me a performance check.
Actually, yeah, similar to before, like Eddie could probably take a few short rests and then
Yeah.
also do his best to feed some of the hungrier ones here, since
Okay.
they're definitely not getting the support they need if even the common folk aren't.
Yeah. Okay.
I
That
mean,
totally
if it's
happens.
food that you're giving out, I'll start divvying up some of the 40 rations that I have.
All right. Yeah, with create food and water and the rations and your public service here, again, people take notice of what you're doing, how you're assisting. And we'll say that that spell is what created the opportunity for this check, Eddie. You both passed the threshold I had in mind. Both of you, again, give yourselves a D6 and add tagline that can only be used in the Sea Elf community.
I have
That's
2
fine.
D6s already. Okay.
Yep, that's fine. Trust me, you're gonna want to use it soon. Again, this is just reflecting what the public services you guys are doing. You guys hear like personal horror stories of people getting trench foot from living in this place for too long or making commutes to work. The labor is just ungodly. People are working 14, 16-hour days at the farms, the Whistling Farms up north, and doing general labor work around Prism View district. Things that are below sea elves, like moving furniture, manufacturing homes, and in the heart, they they've been known to carry luggage and inventory. Essentially, just all the menial jobs these people are forced to do. This is the only way you can make a living, and it's for garbage pay. Like, they're getting paid by the copper. That's done. It approaches night. People need to sleep. Where is everyone sleeping? Like, I'm gonna say at some point, perhaps like Eddie and Aluya run into Mavet. Mavet, how does your situation resolve? Is there a body?
I thought there was a dice roll.
Let's have a dice roll. We didn't roll. We transitioned from you. Well, let me ask you. What would you intend to happen? Are you fighting to kill? Is there accidental murder? Or
You said you left it up when I said it wasn't Mavet and this new guy's body was testing Mavet's strength. I wasn't going for killing. You said I'm not so sure about that. So I'm leaving it up to you, and you could these other celestial bodies making it for death. Let's find out what happened.
Oh
Okay.
God, it's gonna be another moment where Seer's like, "The fuck, group."
Well,
Go ahead and keep going.
there's something here, some context that's missing, but we need to figure out what actually happened first.
Yeah. Let's make things simple here. We'll determine who has the advantage here. So make me a d20 roll +2 because you're not in your own body. This will represent a athletics, and will go against your character's dexterity DC 16. Oh, damn. You managed to pin yourself. You're pinning yourself on the floor. They struggled to fight back, perhaps because they're unused to the body, even though it's much superior to them. Again, this might be a little bit of a nerdy reference here, but I imagine the Dragon Ball Z Frieza arc with Ginyu Force and Goku's body being taken over. Although it is a superior body, superior strength, the person inhabiting your body doesn't know how to utilize it properly. So that being said, I will allow you to take it from here. Like, just know if you would have failed that, you would have killed yourself. As weird as that sounds. Not Mavet killing his wooden form, Mavet murdering this Goliath. But that being said, the Goliath is on top of Mavet. Mavet, you have control. Where does it go from here?
Let us do non-combat or non-lethal damage.
Yeah, that's fine. Are you pummeling yourself?
Yeah, I'm like trying to knock Mavet out.
Okay. Yeah, we just hear the cracking of wood as a fist meets face. Like you were literally punching a tree. You hear the digits breaking, the fingers becoming deformed, bleeding, cracked and bruised.
Yeah,
And
so is original Mavet unconscious?
yes, it takes time. This happens over the course of 15, maybe 20 minutes. Again, we're going off the idea that you're doing 1 point of damage with each blow. Perhaps 2. So this takes time. And once he goes unconscious... Yeah, that's the thing, Mega. Okay, like when the participants with this connection becomes unconscious, what exactly happens in this scenario with your drug?
Oh, that's the thing. Nothing happens.
Okay. Nothing happens. You're in this body. What's happening with you, Mavet? Like, you see your unconscious body on the floor. And again, you're still at the height. Demons are surrounding you. You hear applause like you're in a stadium. Just imagine...
Mavet would be kind of pissed because he's weak.
Yeah, imagine like the camera pivoting like around you. And as it goes around you in the smoky area, we see like
demon horns, smoldering eyes, weapons raised, and like monstrosities and aberrations from your deepest nightmares come form. And they're cheering you on, even though you are weak and pathetic.
Mavet needs to consider what this means. His body looks so much stronger, but is it himself and his wits that won this fight? He's really confused right now. Because at first, he's thinking like, you know, that body was lost so handedly. Does it deserve to be burned, or is Mavet just such a better fighter that it doesn't even matter the body he inhabits?
Perhaps that's it.
No, I think he would just ponder upon that.
Time passes. Mega, how long would this high or state of mind last for?
It's like, well, since he consumed all of the drug, it's like, and it's really more a measure of exposure. How much time did the fight brawl
Say about
actually
20 minutes. Yeah, 20 minutes, and times are beginning to line here. Where hours is beginning to pass if Mavet doesn't bring up or do anything.
Well, honestly, I would say the feeling of disorientation would probably start to fade within the hour, but his current condition does not change.
Oh. How do you feel, Mavet? Again, you're in conscious body. Your body is still on the floor.
Mavet in his new body would wait for the other one to just wake up. Or for someone to treat him, or whatever happens, because he's not going to do it. And then Mavet in this new body would just be watching it until the drugs wear off.
Yeah. You just see the Goliath sitting down, leaning forward, like forearms resting on knees. And you are alone. Your friends, air quote friends, that are here were so disturbed by your actions that they fled. You're alone in this room, in the smoke, with your body, in the dark. This flooded room, like it goes up to your ankles. And just to connect the scenes here, I would say like hours have passed. And eventually, Eddie and Luya.
Wait,
Both of you make
before we
me...
get there, I have a
Go ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
So, if in this new body I were to take advantage of Mavet, would that be sex or masturbation?
Age-old question. Like the clone trooper.
Sexual assault.
Yes.
Keep in mind, you're doing it with something that's not your body.
But it's still me. I don't know. I just wanted to ask that. Okay, proceed.
Okay. Eddie, Luya, both of you. What's your passives? Passive perception.
Where do I find that?
Whatever your perception score is, plus 10.
Got it.
So 14. All right.
15. All right, yeah, that's sufficient. 14 and
14.
15. Yeah. As you guys are doing your goodwill, you would come along this party house. I know that there's an actual term for like drug houses. Can't remember off the top of my head. You come around this ramshackle building, and you do see within the darkness a familiar wooden figure on the ground, incapacitated. Imagine you guys walking across the street, nothing in hands now, like all the food and water given away. What do you guys do?
You have exactly 10 seconds to tell me what happened here.
Spoken to the Goliath.
Look how
what do they
weak
say?
I am, Eddie.
You know what? Not the answer I was expecting.
Fucking badass. Because imagine this. You're looking in this building, and in the shadows, in the smoke, you just see those dim eyes just slightly looking up at you.
I think to myself, Eddie, only the strong deserve to win. But am I strong, or are they just weak?
I can't answer that for you. But I will say, if I'm understanding this situation correctly, it's not always a question of physical strength, but also strength of mind and strength of will.
I don't understand.
Just add in here, Eddie. Like, with your feelings towards the Nexus and your connections with everyone. Like, would there even be a tangible feeling towards your character, towards this, like, massive boom of connections, or at least, like, this massive high? Like, would you have felt that ripple?
So, well, considering how unique the situation is, since at least Eddie has never encountered somebody who, again, just took the whole dang thing in. I would say there would probably have been like at least a localized disturbance among those who are connected.
Yeah, and I imagine that's probably what made you stop or even look at the building with your passive perception. And just to add on more to it, I kind of feel like with the unique situation that perhaps, like, in the smoke itself, you see like silhouettes of figures that aren't there, connections distant and not present. Almost like again, to use the term, like almost like a small nexus point was created and it's fading. That house is unholy. It is straight fucked. Like, just imagine that, like in the shadows, like the forms of demons that just glimmer, then fade. Literally fighting his demons.
I suppose what I mean by strength of will is that even somebody who may not be physically strong may have the will to overcome somebody who is much stronger than them.
Mavet,
So,
I want to imagine internally, again, with this connection, that attachment towards that other self that you felt before with that child is amplified in this moment, again, with this drug and everything that's going on here. And again, it's like schizophrenia, which you are still suffering from. Like, you were hearing
Yeah, I know.
voices of other people in your head, and they are all in a cacophony, just speaking about the weaknesses of man, cowardice, and just like going on about like sins, like how people can be fall into these pitfalls, lust, gluttony, greed, downfalls, weaknesses. You need to be stronger, better, and it's all just forming. Again, imagine that face, that head in the smoke, this mist, that familiar form of your past life, your Hulk-like figure, its face staring at you. You must be strong, or be burnt to ash. And as it speaks, like cinder and ash comes out of its mouth. And it washes over you, and you feel cold in this body. You think Mavet has really felt like true, like cold before, considering their previous form, their previous life?
I wouldn't say no. Probably not true cold.
Imagine taking a polar plunge. You are feeling it now, and it washes over you. And you can taste ash in your mouth.
Let's leave it to a dice roll, see what schizophrenia does.
All right. Just whispering in your head.
Do you have some options in mind? Since you gave the schizophrenia?
Let me hear your intentions first, then they'll guide me here. Like, what do you?
I have.
Yeah, what do you have in mind for how the scene will play out, or how Mavet will react? What do you want? Tell me that goal, and I'll tell you how it gets twisted should you fail.
I see either the Goliath doing something to Mavet's body, or attempting to, or the Goliath doing something to himself, or just nothing happening. But
Okay.
I want to have some like really crazy something bad could happen. I'm down with that because it is schizophrenia and he's in a different body. It's hard to like know what will happen.
Okay. I would say this would be a wisdom saving throw. The DC, you're going against yourself. This is gonna be one of those rare opportunities where I feel like, how do I represent that properly? You know what? No, I'm gonna make it flat. Use your wisdom saving throw, and I have a DC in mind.
Roll it from Mavet's body.
Yeah, because we're using your mental stats. Imagine wild shape rules. What's total? Barely made it. Like, you hear this cacophony of voices trying to guide you, push you. But does the strong listen to the weak, Mavet? Does
No,
the
they do not.
powerful bow to the legions that they lead? Do you need advice from those too cowardly to show themselves to you?
No.
That's your anchor. The tree does not bow to the sapling.
The tree only bows to the gardener.
And you see Eddie. How's this manifest?
The Goliath would turn to Eddie and speak. Eddie, the gardener, I will wait and ponder upon the words that you have spoken until my body rises up. This drug will leave my system and I should be back. But until then, no harm should come to my body, nor this one that I inhabit currently.
Well, Mavet, as he just kind of like takes in his pen, breathes it in a bit, lets it out. It's a good thing that neither one of you died before I got here.
Eddie, just to add in here, like schizophrenia is not just auditory; it can be visual, and you hear like this theme, like as a player, you hear this theme of a gardener. Like how do you think Mavet would view Eddie in this moment? Again, like seeking an anchor for his mind.
Like in terms of like how it would sound if Mavet heard what he just said.
Yeah, and just to like, it can also be visual hallucinations as well. Like it's a bundled mental issue here. Like how does Eddie appear to Mavet in this moment? What does he hear? How does like considering the sensitivity of the drug that he's taken? Like how does it impact him audio wise and visually?
I guess it would probably. It's a bit hard to warp that phrase a bit. I guess if I had to like really apply an equivalent, it's like perhaps like some sort of like honestly, because of like how Mavet's being right now, I almost want to imagine like Mavet almost feels a bit like a sapling before Eddie, in the
Aw.
sense that a gardener just like looking down upon them, just like it's like no, don't drink too much. It's like or you'll wilt yourself.
Which is funny because you are, I believe, you and Sierra are the only people with gardening expertise in this party. But how does this scene resolve, Mavet, Eddie?
But yeah, so as what Eddie actually, like, going back to what Eddie actually said, it's like it's a good thing neither one of you killed the other before I got here. Otherwise, you would have been stuck like that. So as Eddie is going to collect what smoke is left in the room and kind of like move it over the heads of both of them, like trying to concentrate to the best of his ability.
Yep.
Then now will yourself. Will your return.
Do we want to roll for it or just have it happen? Because if it happens, Mavet's going to be unconscious in the other body.
No. It's there is absolutely no roll for it in this moment. If you will it, it happens.
I will it.
in which case the Goliath body drops to the ground. And I'll bet you find yourself in your own body.
Wow. Why is he on the floor?
Because he's unconscious. And then Eddie slowly turns to Aluya. Never let anyone know what you saw here right just now.
I will never do so. This was interesting.
You can understand why it would be really dangerous if too many people knew about it.
Silhouettes and demons, devils behind Eddie as he
Yes.
says this.
Today has been a day, especially for you for cleanup.
A lot of spilt milk. All right. Where's everyone sleeping tonight? Let's transition to the next day.
Well, definitely not that house, but probably one of the other homes in the well, we probably need to keep Aluya in like one of the drier areas, so at least above the floor. But
Yeah.
I imagine that we could probably just find a house to stay in. Well, actually, I guess. It's like, hey, you. It's like gesturing at, like, I don't know if Guma would have would have followed us or not.
Yeah, we could say that. Silently following you guys.
Would you mind keeping an eye on those two?
Nods.
About to walk away, turns around. All right, let me be more specific. I don't want any deaths or violence with these two while I'm gone.
Crestfallen. Just says how boring that is. Shrugs his shoulders, but nods.
It's boring, but if you all want to survive, I suggest it.
Clicks his tongue, looks away. Towards the individuals.
Aluya will wave at him and wave goodbye to Eddie. See you soon, Eddie. I'll be here, sitting, waiting. Just me, my vet, and Goo.
Gumo.
Cursing his nickname.
That's what he says in response, just Gumo.
Yes, I said Goo. You're right.
This happens for minutes. What does Eddie do? Where's he going?
I think Eddie is actually going to after having done what he has, he's actually probably going to try to take lodging mind you, I think it's like either like a destroyed or wrecked, but I feel like he would want to just go ahead and actually, now that I'm thinking about it, probably track down the prince that he abandoned. Oh, excuse me, the Goliath he abandoned.
Yeah, that's a hell of a walk. So yeah, it can happen easily. Like
I wonder if he's
may
still
try to stir.
talking.
Yeah. You retrace your steps back to where the worm is. You see
practically nothing left behind. Not that they disposed or burned the corpse, but they harvested it to such a degree that like there's nothing remaining. The blood-coated street, you see the Goliath as he is talking with the Sea Elves. And it seems like there's a bit of a tension in the air. Roll me a D100 as you are going across town here. I have a table. We're going to use it.
Making my way downtown, walking
29?
slow.
With a 29 DC. Along the way. Yeah, that tracks. I can actually put it. You can actually put it around here. You see a little bit of a religious fervor around town. In fact, there is a bit of an argument between two like sides that the Goliath Galvin is trying to mediate here, but because of his race, he's having a bit of trouble. The gist of it is you hear like new recruits to the chapter of Aeolus want to hold a vigil to honor Aeolus, and they want to have a ceremonial fire, while devout followers of tradition and devout followers of Minerva, again, two separate groups, kind of intermingling here, are vehemently like against this idea. Like this is a outsider's god that has no place in this time of trouble, and because of Aluya's recent actions, it really waved the flames from a verbal dispute to actually getting a slight bit physical. Because the way that the community is seeing this is not only is this an outsider god, but this a person promoting this god is recently killed a lot of people. It's essentially like viewing this as worshipping a terrorist.
Oh, he should just pass off all the other things he did for them.
Yep.
I see.
It's not black and white. This is
They're cherry picking. They're cherry picking.
Cherry picking. But yeah, that's the two sides. Like, people still support, again, like what Luya was saying, like praising her for what she's done, praising Aeolus, while the other side is taking her down a peg, saying of all the trouble she's caused in town, she's a genasi, and it's an outsider god. And things are beginning to boil. And to inform you, Mega, it doesn't seem like this is a situation where a singular check will solve the issue. And in fact, this may take like a while to actually fully play out. But you see that there's tension in the air. And Galvin is just rubbing his bald head. I don't know what to do. Gritting his teeth. And seeing you approach, he gives you a slight wave. Not as enthusiastic as his previous mood.
Having a bit of trouble?
A little bit, I would say. Your tree friend caused quite a stir. Crippled a child's hand, actually. Scratching his chin. Odd sort. Can't say I agree with harming a child. And from what I hear, your other friend killed a fair amount of people. It's not looking good, Ottoman.
That is an understatement.
Yes, well, I'm still in good spirits. Go ahead.
Well, that's a bit easier to deal with since he, as far as I can tell, hasn't really existed for very long. He doesn't really connect things as well as he should.
Gives a sagely nod, crossing both arms. The colorful tassels like going off of the small draft within the Frostheart like interior here.
Aaliyah is a bit of a different matter, but one way or another, it'll resolve tomorrow.
Well, the question is whether it's for good or ill. And he narrows his eyes. And again, like, perhaps we see, like, two people going at it. Like, a man and a woman. Like, one clawing the other's face, the other one giving a few jabs. Yeah.
It's like, what exactly are they fighting over?
That one god, Aeolus. I got a chapter that sprouted up today. And it appears that the followers of Minerva aren't too kind to outsider gods. Is, from my perspective, too much too fast. I want to hold a vigil to honor the tragedy that's happened today. And, they don't want this religious service to happen. They want to cut out the roots. Can't say oil and water mixes.
Have you tried finding common ground?
I tried, but they took one look at me and didn't go over too well.
So, I guess Eddie wandering over.
Rabble. Like, it doesn't seem like there's a head to either group. There's just, imagine, I'll say roughly 80 people. Like, more people. More people. I want to give a little bit of light to this. Aluya calling sea elves backwater hillbillies on least be racism. You see these two groups? Around like 80 people total, 40 people per group. Their tensions are beginning to rise. And so, like, a couple people are coming to blows. It is mob mentality at this point, Mega. It is a cacophony of voices with no strong singular voice to lead either side. You just hear hatred. You can feel it in the air with your connections. Like, some of these people have taken, like, your drug, and you just feel the intensity of hatred. Not quite murderous intent, but it is gradually boiling to that point.
Oh, right. Since in which case, Eddie's actually going to see if he can exert his own will through that connection.
Okay, I like that.
Essentially trying to achieve something as similar to calm emotions.
Okay. Okay, here's one we'll do. One check for all of them. We'll say it's calm emotions, and with your unique circumstances, I believe I made an exception like this before with Aluya in ceremony. Something similar happens. It's being spread to multiple people that are affected by your connection. I'm going to make I believe it's a wisdom saving throw.
It is.
Yeah. Let's do a d20 plus 1. Let's just say that tiny bit wise, not too much. Oof. Let's figure out how many people in that crowd actually smoked it. I'm going to give you a d20 roll and minimum of 5. Or, sorry, 6. So, d20 plus 5. Oof! Got a lot of stoners in that group. Let's split it down the middle. Let's say 10 and 10, or 10 and 11. So, you do actually have a good pull here, where like a quarter of each group could fall under your control here. And, well, they did. Like, we see, like, narrate this for me. What does this pulse look like?
As Eddie is like smoking on his pen, I want to imagine that it starts to like pop from the pen itself and start to almost like a wisp, like make its way through the crowd.
Okay.
It's like and maybe even like that smoke kind of like pulses a bit as it literally seeks out the thin line that connects all of them and brings them peace. And then also maybe the reason, potentially anyway, why it brings peace is that he evokes an image. It's like an image of the image of a storm. It's like bringing rain down upon the oceans, but then also cutting to immediately afterward the sun bringing the water droplets into the air. Sort of like bringing this vibe of there is a cycle that connects both the skies and the waters, and that we are all a part of it.
Let me paint a picture here and show how you shatter it. Imagine like this entire conflict like a painting between like a bird made of complete pink lightning within black clouds storming onto the sea. We see like the lightning tendrils touching the ocean. And within the ocean itself, we see the ocean level, and deep below in pure blackness is that mermaid-like figure. And her draping her cloak and her arm almost making like the shape of a harp. Within this cloak, we see vocal cords as she strums at it. And it looks like, again, a battle between deities. And with this pulse, we see the cycle, making these deities begin to fade into the picture and more natural. It's no longer about the deities or the clash between the storm and the sea. It is purely about the cycle, the tradition that all elves practice. And there is a calm. They don't come to an understanding that they are no longer hostile. It's more neutral now between both the parties.
And Eddie will instead reorient. How about instead we honor them as a community, not as followers of one god or another? We've all faced loss, so we should all mourn in that loss together as one.
Okay. Make me a persuasion check. And I'm only offering this because they're not hostile anymore. That's why I mentioned you wouldn't be able to make a check earlier. Okay.
Take my roll, you filthy animal, with my inspiration.
Yeah, just take the D20 and see where that gets us.
Is the D6?
Oh my god!
Oh wow!
Turned into a natural 20.
That's a 29.
Yep.
No.
Oh well. Adding, what was the bonus I got
2
from?
Yeah, so that's a 31. Again, and I hate to keep hearkening to this, but this is how you've been acting today. Again, Messiah-like figure. And you just keep ending up in spots where you're being bathed in light. Everyone sees your silhouette. Everyone sees the starburst behind you. And there's a ceremony. And it is getting very late, Eddie.
It's like I realized it's like shit. We should probably get in touch with Galvin. It's like and then maybe just like stay someplace nearby in town. Just like I didn't think I was gonna keep running into significant events.
So many fucking events in this town, and you are solving them one by one, and they each take time. Let's transition here.
Eddie goes to bed.
Well, before that, when I come back to you, I want to hear like how this event resolves or how you honor the dead or honor this day. But we'll focus on that in a little bit here. Seer, we haven't focused on you in a while. What is happening within this alchemy shop?
Besides documenting, seeing what could be taken for the rest of the adventure, mainly because if this alchemist had a lot of ingredients, It could be useful to make other potions or even create new ones.
Mhm.
The main thing is that their focus would be on doing exactly what Eddie requested. However, I would describe as the production quality, or I would even say like the production speed in the very beginning would suffer, mainly because, as I mentioned, Seer has lost an extreme amount of motivation from everything that's going down, because they're probably going through their brain as they try to do work, and then either they accidentally do the same thing twice, 5 times, maybe they mess up on something. It's one of those things where it's like the mounting frustration and other things like that slowly build up till eventually they just grit their teeth and just push through making things happening.
A lot of arbitrary mistakes happen.
Correct.
Okay. And are you going to be experiencing a long rest here? Like, how much time does it actually take to make this project or a product that you're making? Or is this something for me to determine the timeline with how wishy-washy the product is?
Well, essentially, it's making a Spanky 2.
Yep.
Only instead of it flying around, it's just a bigger radio per se,
Okay.
so that everybody could hear it. So It's just rebuilding it. But why I mention it is because essentially, there's going to be this point where Seer just grits through what they're feeling and just makes it happen. So if it takes if I could do it to make a long rest, sure. If I can't do a long rest, well, I'll leave it up to you, DM. What do you think? Because this is one of those moments where it's like, it makes sense if they're sleepless, but it also makes sense if they just finish things just to be done with the day.
You've done a lot today, and a lot of people have done a lot. I'm gonna say in your case, I'm not gonna require a check, but you will risk exhaustion because it's been a very long day, and you're trying to create a product here. Now I understand, with the new rule set, I believe it's during a long rest you can use your kits to create a product. No, I'm gonna abide by the new rules. Yeah, we'll follow the rule set to the best of our abilities towards the long rest. I'm not gonna be too harsh about this. Have a quick look here. But please, fill dead air as I'm looking through this. Walk me through what's happening with this here.
I will describe it step by step before Seer finally just says fuck it and pushes to just get things done. It might be smaller things at first, where as Seer's documentating, she might accidentally write the ingredient twice. Just look and be like, it could also be simple things like what's really on their mind, being like maybe writing Aluya's name on there and then she gets irritated. And it kind of progressively gets worse. I would say maybe over filling up an ingredient, dropping a bottle, possibly even just stumbling onto something that usually they're very meticulous about. It's these moments where it's like they're focusing. They even overestimate times. So let's say they had to boil something for a specific amount of time and they accidentally overboil it. It's one of those moments where just every little thing starts to add up, where eventually Seer slowly boils a bit more and more and more. And I wish I could describe more, but the group doesn't get to see how Seer actually reacts. It's just these little frustrations, these little things. But more importantly, it's like, I know Eddie can't wasn't trying to be mean about their words, but it's one of those moments where it very much Seer eventually starts to melt down a bit, but instead of handling it in the proper way, they'll do it as they always do, where they just swallow it and then just really focus on making the product come out.
Okay. So, towards a crafting itself, like what particular kit do you think you're using here?
Tinker tools.
Tinkers? Okay. All right, that's gonna help guide me a little bit. We'll say during your long rest that this will be a dexterity check, and I'll grant what you're making. It's just gonna be a little bit of a higher DC. Give me a dexterity check.
With the tools, right?
Yep. And
All
if
right,
you
let me-
fail, I'll offer you Devil's Bargain. Keep in mind if you guys roll ones or twos, I can give you guys a success with consequence. But for this particular scenario, if you just fail to roll, I have an offer for you.
Trying to remember if I have expertise with the tools. I think I do. I think I do have expertise.
You meet it right on dot. It was DC 20. What I was going to offer you, if you failed, was to forego rest to complete it. But because you've done it, even with all these small mishaps, you construct what you're looking for. Like, tell me what it looks like and how it functions.
It's not spanky automated where it could, animate and move around. It's very much in the funniest way for Eddie to see. It is a square rectangular box with essentially 2 speakers on the side.
Yep.
What I'm describing is Eddie has a literal boom box that they could put on their shoulder.
Okay. All right. This takes a substantial amount of time. Where do you sleep?
Probably when they finish, due to exhaustion emotionally, physically, and for the long day, they'll just pass out right beside it. So if it's in a desk, they'll just sleep in the chair, head on the table. If it's, somewhere close by, they'll just rest against the wall and just like pass out. It's not going to be a comfortable sleep.
Okay. Mavet, Aluya, you have time alone. Both of you have had a very stressful day. Is there any conversation that happens between the two of you?
I don't think for Uluyo she'll kind of just look at Mavet and his busted state and just kind of give like a nod, like, yeah, we had a day, dude. We had a day. And she'll kind of tuck herself into a corner, kind of thinking about events and Eddie's words and kind of just in her own disappointment, kind of just sink into herself and try and sleep.
Okay. Mavet?
I have nothing to say to Aluya.
Excellent performers. All right. You guys have nothing to say. Mega, unless you have one more scene in mind, let me hear like what the ceremony looks like and where we find everyone, like minus Seer, sleep for the night.
I think how Eddie would choose to do this, since he's trying to emphasize community. It's like I think he would encourage everyone to hold hands with one another, and it's like he would say a few words himself. It's like in fact, probably even switching back and forth. It's like between Orin and Aquin,
Okay.
since he naturally speaks primordial.
Yeah.
And if you might, like, as those people might not remember that much, it's like, but at least, like, his variant of, like Triton, it's like, are both creatures with power as well as reverence for both the air and the water.
Mm-hmm. I like that. And we end with people hand in hand. Let's transition. Eddie, Galvin, Aluya, Mavet. We're in the interior of a ramshackle place in the dredges here, the Great Quarter. Not the Great Quarter, what the hell am I thinking? The Skyrim, the Castaway Quarter. And you all sleep. And you guys sleep like shit. Unless you guys have a scene in mind before you fall asleep, I'm going to say everyone can take a long rest. And you guys wake up to footfall. A lot of it. As roughly 15, 20 guards are... Again, I imagine this place with no door. So I imagine, like, you hear the splashing of their footsteps and they call out to you when they approach the door as a sign of respect. It is time. Council has gathered for your audience. And we'll end it there. And we'll start the next session with the fallout of everyone's actions in town. We'll see how that plays out. Thank you guys so much for joining me today.
This has been House Common Blood. The intro and outro music is Oh My Dog by Savick, and any other music and sound effects used in the episode are royalty free. Credits can be found in the episode description. Please review us on whatever podcast listening app you happen to be using. And if you like us, tell other people. Word of mouth is the best way for us to grow. Thank you for joining us. Stay connected.